My hands trembled. A subtle tremor, almost imperceptible yet undeniably there. It wasn't the kind of shaking that came from fear exactly, but more from a potent mix of anticipation and apprehension. It wasn't from caffeine, though I had skipped my morning coffee. No, this was something else entirely. Something far more profound than a simple caffeine withdrawal. It stemmed from the tiny, clear disc resting delicately in my palm. This was the Memori. Not just a contact lens, but a gateway to a new kind of existence, a technological marvel promising to redefine how we experience and remember the world. A contact lens that could record everything I saw, every glance, every smile, every fleeting moment, captured and stored for eternity. It was a concept straight out of science fiction, now a tangible reality in my hand. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying, a potent cocktail of excitement and unease swirling within me. The possibilities seemed limitless, yet the potential consequences were equally vast and unknown. What would it mean to have a perfect, unedited record of my life? Would it be a blessing, a curse, or something in between? Would I become a passive observer of my own existence, forever reliving the past? The lens itself looked deceptively ordinary. A simple, unassuming piece of plastic. Soft, transparent, flexible just like any other contact lens I'd worn before. But inside, hidden from the naked eye, were microscopic circuits, a complex network of technology powered by my own tears, a bio-integrated system working in harmony with my body. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, and carefully placed it on my eye. This was it, the point of no return. A cool, almost imperceptible sensation, then nothing. No discomfort, no irritation. It felt just like a normal lens, as if it had always been there, a natural extension of my own eye. I blinked, looking around my apartment, taking in the familiar surroundings with a newfound sense of awareness. Everything looked the same. The same worn furniture, the same cluttered desk, the same view out the window. No digital overlay, no flashing lights, no augmented reality distorting my perception. Just a faint, almost imperceptible vibration, a gentle hum against my eyelid, letting me know it was recording. The silent whir of progress. My life was now being captured frame by frame, moment by moment, every detail meticulously recorded. I gazed out the window, drawn to the world outside, people walking, hurrying to their destinations, lost in their own thoughts. Cars streaming by, a constant flow of metal and motion, reflecting the city's relentless energy. A dog chasing a pigeon, a fleeting moment of playful chaos amidst the urban landscape. Ordinary moments, now permanent, etched into the digital tapestry of my life. The lens was more than a camera, it was a silent witness, an impartial observer documenting my every move. I wondered if I'd remember this moment, this specific feeling of trepidation and excitement because of the lens. Or if the lens would remember it for me, preserving it in perfect detail long after my own memory had faded. I realized I was no longer just living. I was being observed, scrutinized even by myself, through the unblinking eye of the Memori. Would I choose what to record, curating my own personal highlight reel? Or would the lens choose for me, capturing everything indiscriminately, the mundane alongside the momentous? The line between memory and reality was already starting to blur, the edges softening as the lens began to weave its own narrative. I felt both empowered, possessing the ability to perfectly preserve my life, and exposed, vulnerable to the scrutiny of my own recorded memories. The lens was on, and it was seeing everything, absorbing every detail, every nuance, every fleeting expression. My first day with Memori had begun, and I knew with a certainty that settled deep in my bones that nothing would ever be quite the same again. I was stepping into a future where nothing would be forgotten, where every moment could be relived, re-examined, and re-experienced. The question was, did I really want that? Did humanity really want that? I blinked again, and the world felt different, not visually, but perceptually, as if a subtle filter had been applied, altering my relationship with reality. The experiment had started, and I was both the scientist and the subject. To truly test the capabilities of the Memori, to see what it was really capable of, I decided to do something incredibly ordinary. I went to my favorite coffee shop, a place I'd been countless times before. The bell chimed a familiar tune as I entered, the rich, comforting smell of freshly brewed coffee filling the air, wrapping around me like a warm blanket. I approached the counter and ordered my usual, a simple black coffee, nothing fancy, and found my way to my favorite spot by the window watching the world go by. I was hyper-aware of the lens, this tiny piece of technology like a silent companion, discreetly recording every detail, every nuance of this mundane experience. Maria, the barista, greeted me with a warm smile as she handed me my cup. "The usual, Alex," she said, already knowing my order by heart. I watched the steam rise in delicate swirls, took a sip of the hot, bitter liquid, and consciously tried to savor the moment, to imprint it in my memory. But this time, I knew it wasn't just my fallible memory at work, it was being saved, digitally preserved. Later that evening, back at home, I synced the lens to my tablet, eager to see the results and watched the recording begin to download. The playback was astonishing. Far beyond what I had anticipated, my own perspective, perfectly stable and crystal clear, as if I were reliving the moment. I saw Maria's genuine smile, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners, the swirling steam dancing above my coffee, each wisp unique, the gentle chime of the bell as someone else entered the coffee shop. Details I'd completely missed in the moment, now brought vividly to life. The audio was crisp and clear, capturing the ambient sounds of the coffee shop, the visuals incredibly vivid, almost hyper-real. It was like stepping back in time, not just remembering, but reliving the memory exactly as it happened, with all its sensory details intact. This simple, almost insignificant event was now perfectly preserved, a digital time capsule. It wasn't just a video recording, it was a memory, made tangible, accessible, and shareable. And that's when I truly realized the true power of the Memori. It had the potential to turn the mundane, the everyday, into something meaningful, something worth cherishing. But I also wondered, a nagging doubt creeping into my mind. Would I start living for the recording, curating my life for the lens, instead of simply experiencing it? The line between truly living and meticulously documenting was already beginning to fade, blurring into an indistinguishable haze. I finished my coffee, the last drop clinging to the bottom of the cup, both in real life, the physical sensation, and on the screen, the digital echo. The ordinary had somehow become extraordinary, elevated beyond its simple existence, simply because it was remembered, not just in my mind, but in a tangible, reproducible form. I closed the tablet, the screen fading to black, feeling both amazed by the technology and deeply unsettled by its implications. This experiment, this journey into the world of digital memory, was only just beginning. What would I choose to remember next? And more importantly, what would the act of remembering do to me? The Memori lens was a marvel of compression and connectivity. Instead of endless video files, it captured keyframes and eye movement data, reconstructing smooth video in the cloud. Years of my life could be stored securely, accessible only to me. My memories became a searchable digital archive. I could find moments by date, keyword, or even a snippet of conversation. The AI analyzed everything, making my life as searchable as the internet. Lost information was now just a search away. I could revisit lectures, relearn skills, or settle arguments with a few taps. Every experience became a lesson, every moment a potential resource. My memory was no longer limited by my brain's flaws. The lens turned my life into a living textbook. But as my archive grew, I wondered, was I gaining wisdom or just collecting data? The cloud held my past, but what would it mean for my future? One evening, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, I met my best friend, Sarah. We'd planned to catch up in our favorite spot, a quiet corner of the park. It was in the park at sunset, the golden hour casting long shadows and a warm glow on everything. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. I hadn't told her about the Memori yet. The weight of the secret felt heavy, a growing burden on my conscience. How do you tell someone you're recording every word, every expression? The thought of explaining it made my stomach churn with anxiety. It felt like a betrayal, a violation of our shared intimacy. Our conversations had always been private, a safe space, a sanctuary where we could share our deepest fears and wildest dreams without judgment. Now the lens was a silent third party, an uninvited guest intruding on our sacred space. It felt like I was eavesdropping on my own life and worse, on hers. As we talked, I became distracted, watching her but also aware the lens was watching too. It was a strange duality, a constant push and pull between genuine connection and detached observation. I saw her excitement, her concern, the subtle nuances of her expressions that I'd always cherished. Her unguarded moments, those fleeting glimpses into her soul that made our friendship so special. Capturing them felt wrong, a violation of the unspoken contract of our friendship. She hadn't consented to being part of my digital archive, to having her life documented and stored without her knowledge or permission. Finally, The guilt became too much to bear. I took a deep breath and told her about the lens. Her face shifted from curiosity, a flicker of intrigue at the mention of new technology, to concern, a growing unease as the implications of my actions began to sink in. "You're recording me right now?" she asked, her voice laced with a mixture of disbelief and hurt. I nodded, guilt tightening in my chest, the weight of my betrayal pressing down on me. "You have to turn it off when you're with me, Alex. Our friendship is about trust, about being able to be ourselves without feeling like we're being watched." She was right. Her words struck me with the force of a revelation. In my excitement, I'd forgotten about others' privacy, about the fundamental right to control one's own image and story. The lens had created a boundary between us, a wall of technology that threatened to undermine the very foundation of our friendship. That evening I deactivated the lens for the first time, a symbolic gesture of repentance and a commitment to rebuilding trust. The world felt more private, the air lighter, the weight on my conscience lifted, more real, more authentic, more connected to the present moment. I realized some moments are meant to be lived, not recorded, to be savored in their raw, unfiltered beauty, not dissected and analyzed later. Trust mattered more than perfect memory, more than the allure of capturing every detail for posterity. I promised to respect that, to prioritize our friendship over my technological obsession, to be present and engaged in the moment, not lost in the lens. At first I was obsessed with my archive, rewatching every detail, marveling at what I'd missed, but soon the novelty faded, replaced by exhaustion. My digital memory palace became a cluttered attic filled with thousands of clips, most of them boring. The human brain filters out the mundane, the Memori forgot nothing. Sifting through endless footage became a chore. I felt pressure to live a life worth recording, curating my days for the archive. I became a performer, not a participant. The constant self-awareness was draining. Managing my past took time away from my present. The tool meant to help me remember was making me forget how to live. Life is messy, not meant to fit into neat digital folders. I realized I was spending more time organizing memories than making them. The archive was growing, but my joy was shrinking. I needed to reclaim my life from the lens. Sometimes, forgetting is a gift. I started to let go. The present mattered more than the perfect record. The memory changed my relationship with Ben. At first it brought us joy. We relived our best moments, laughed at our first date, revisited vacations. It felt like a time machine for our love. But the lens also revealed things we'd missed: my impatience, his hurt. Watching arguments back was humbling, a tool for empathy. Yet perfect recall had a dark side. Every mistake, every careless word was preserved. We became careful, less spontaneous, always aware of the record. Instead of talking through memories, we'd just watch them. Our shared history became a collection of facts, not a living story. The lens, meant to celebrate our relationship, was turning it into data points. We lost the art of remembering together. The warmth of shared memory was replaced by cold accuracy. I missed the imperfect, evolving story we used to tell. Love, I realized, thrives in the gaps and the grace of forgetting. The lens couldn't capture that. Some memories are meant to fade. The Memori remembered everything. Pain, grief, embarrassment, with brutal clarity. I could rewatch heartbreak, relive mistakes, reopen wounds that should have healed. Forgetting is a form of forgiveness, a way to move on. The lens trapped me in cycles of regret and self-criticism. Even my thoughts felt exposed. If I looked at someone while thinking something negative, was it part of the record? I tried to police my own mind, but it was impossible. My inner world, once private, now felt vulnerable. I began to understand why our memories are imperfect, their stories shaped by emotion and growth. The Memori offered only cold, objective truth. It stripped away the poetry of memory. I started to miss the hazy, unreliable beauty of my own mind. Some things are better left forgotten. The constant recording blurred the line between living and watching my life. Sometimes I couldn't tell if I remembered an experience or just the recording of it. My sense of self, once rooted in personal memory, now depended on a device. I was outsourcing my identity. At a family wedding, I caught myself thinking, this is great footage, instead of just being present. The lens created distance, turning me into a curator, not a protagonist. I wondered, if my memories could be stored, deleted, or hacked, were they still truly mine? I tried leaving the lens off for a day. At first I felt exposed, but then, freedom. I could think, speak, and feel without worrying about permanence. My true identity wasn't in the archive, but in the unscripted present. I felt most alive when I wasn't being recorded. The imperfect now was more real than any perfect memory. As Memori spread, society changed. In courtrooms, recordings became powerful evidence but raised legal and ethical questions. In workplaces, meetings and training improved, but privacy vanished. Social etiquette shifted. People asked, "Are you recording?" before speaking. Lens-free zones appeared, offering sanctuary from surveillance. A divide grew between recorders and non-recorders. The nature of truth changed. History was written by the recorders, but reality became fragmented. Every event was captured from countless perspectives, but consensus faded. People retreated into their own versions of the truth, backed by their recordings. The world had more information, but less agreement. Privacy became a luxury. The line between public and private life blurred. Technology had changed not just how we remember, but how we live together. After a year with Memori, I stood at a crossroads. I had a perfect record of my life, but something was missing: the freedom to simply live. The lens was a powerful tool, but also a burden. I realized a perfectly remembered life isn't the same as a fully lived one. The future of this technology is both exciting and daunting. I decided to use the lens only for special moments, not every day. For the rest, I'd trust my own flawed memory. I wanted to be present, to let some moments fade. The lens now sits on my desk more than in my eye, a reminder of what matters. A perfect memory isn't the key to happiness. The key is to live, to be engaged, to find meaning in the now. The future isn't something to record, it's something to experience. And as I look out my window without the lens, the world feels clearer than ever.